I'm Matt Connell from Connell & Sims Law Firm. Like I was trying to say about the cottonwood tree, I think that reputation is very important for attorneys. Lay people kind of have a disdain for defense attorneys, I find. Whereas I find that it's very important for me to be very honest and very sincere at all times, especially with the court and with opposing attorneys. In fact, I remember myself as a young attorney once arguing with the prosecutor, and the judge told me, guys, come up to the bench. Let me just tell you, it takes a lifetime to build a reputation, and you can damage it in an instant. And so I've always tried to remember that. And I've been in this town for 18 years practicing law. I've been practicing law since 1995. You don't have to hire me if you have legal problems, but I would encourage you to get a Boulder lawyer. I think it's important to have somebody that the judges know and that the other attorneys know. I have had prosecutors refer me cases. I have had opposing attorneys on cases in the past refer me cases, which I consider a high compliment. The client that the prosecutor referred me said he knew this prosecutor, and he called him up and he said, I need someone that knows what he's doing and is not a and I said, wow, that's high praise. And then I had, most recently, and I'll pass these around, the porta potty peeper case. This guy got sentenced last week. This is a guy that shoved himself into the latrine part of a porta potty at a yoga festival here in town because, because he's crazy, basically, and he's very mentally ill, to put it better, but he worshipped women and wanted to be in the toilet portion of the porta potty along with the feces and everything else when women came into the toilet. So I was his fourth attorney because it's court appointed, so it doesn't pay much, so nobody wants it to begin with. He's a difficult client, it's a difficult case, and lawyers kept jumping off the case. So the judge called me and said, can I get on the case? And actually the judge's clerk called me, and I said, I don't really want the case, but I'll take it if the judge wants me to take it. But just tell the judge I'm not going to continue it. I'm either going to try it or I'm going to resolve it. And she said, I think that's why he told me to call you. So I think it's good to have a good reputation, especially in a small town.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
I thought when the judge told you how to work with somebody, you had to finish it off.
No, I don't have to do court-appointed cases if I don't want to.
Oh, okay.
And like I said, they don't pay very well, but I still do some of them because I enjoy the face time in court, and you get some serious felonies, and so you get the serious felony practice, and so it helps keep you sharp. And a lot of them end up in the newspaper, which is kind of fun. And so in any event, I do a lot of difficult cases nowadays. I end up specializing in the following types of cases: domestic violence cases, sex assault cases, sex assault on a child cases, child abuse cases, and then we'll put DUI and DUI drugs in a different category. So let me ask you all, who's against domestic violence? Tough crowd. Not everybody immediately raised their hand, but everybody should be, right? Let's try it again. Who's against domestic violence? I mean, I'm against domestic violence too, okay? Let's talk about this for a few moments.
Spanking fall into that category?
What's that?
Spanking your children fall into that category?
No, spanking your children could fall into the child abuse category, though. But domestic violence has to be with an intimate partner, okay? So,
Spanking your spouse.
yeah. Let's not complicate matters here, okay? So let me ask a couple questions here before we move on. Dan, do you think people ever lie about domestic violence allegations and make false domestic violence allegations?
Certainly.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dana, do you think anybody's ever, maybe in the whole history of American jurisprudence, ever come in court and raised their right hand and taken an oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and then turned and looked at the jury and lied? Do you think that's ever happened?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah?
That's on TV, so it must be right.
I volunteered for the Safe House.
Oh, okay. So, and I've had cases referred to me from the Safe House as well. Okay, so I've worked with women that are victims of domestic violence as well. So people lie about DV and people lie under oath. Does everybody agree with that? Does anybody disagree with that? Let's move down the line a little bit. Mike, why would somebody lie and make up a false allegation of domestic violence?
Well, to protect themselves.
Okay, to protect themselves, number one, right?
Revenge, anger.
Revenge and anger, that's a really good one
Shakespeare.
that I think we can all understand, okay? How about another good one, which comes up all the time, believe it or not? What about in the context of a child custody dispute? Do you think one party could gain an advantage over another party in a child custody dispute by making up an allegation of child abuse or sex assault on a child or domestic violence?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the main question then, and I'll just leave it open for anybody, but how do you tell the difference between somebody that's guilty and somebody that's not guilty? They don't just come into court wearing a sign around their neck saying, I'm the one that's not guilty, right? We all agree that a certain percentage of them, whatever the percentage may be, are probably not guilty. Whether you think the percentage is small, like 5%, or whether you think the percentage is large, like 33%. Some of them are not guilty, right? So there's a couple things. There's a couple old sayings. One is you want an old lawyer and a young doctor, okay? The reason for that is, if I can get this saying right, I always mix up my saying. But the reason for that is they're not teaching anybody anything in law school that they didn't teach me 20 years ago in law school, okay? But they're teaching people stuff in medical school now that they didn't teach people stuff 20 years ago. So they got all sorts of new technologies to be able to diagnose diseases and treat diseases, okay? So you want a young doctor who just got out of medical school, but you want an old lawyer, because I've got 20 years worth of
I
experience.
think you want a young financial advisor.
And you want a young financial advisor too.
Totally different.
Well, you're more middle.
I'm not young anymore. Kids on the way.
Here's a couple cases I've done. This woman
You don't look that old.
stabbed her husband, killed him. She didn't mean to kill him. He was assaulting her. She had an abrasion on her forehead. The mirror was broken. He had bashed her face into the mirror. She had gone into the kitchen and said, stay away. She picked up a kitchen knife. He was a chef. They were very sharp knives. He didn't stay away. He was a 220-pound guy. He was a lot bigger than me. He came in the kitchen, came at her. She said she went like that. And she said it just went in like butter. And it nicked his heart. And he bled to death like that. We worked out a really good deal for her where she stayed out on probation. This is Rudy Gaitan, me and my bald spot. I was in that picture. Rudy was a cold case here in Boulder. He didn't get such good results. He got convicted based upon DNA evidence 18 years after the offense, which was pretty horrific.
What's the statute on that? Never?
Murders.
It depends, yeah. The statute of limitations
Yeah, that's what I
depends,
meant.
but it's a complicated question. But this is another good article. I won a trial in December. My wife was my co-counsel. This couple was same-sex couple. They both had AIDS. One of them was the caregiver for the other one, and he received benefits from the government for being the caregiver. After 11 years, the government said, hey, you committed fraud by not saying that you were a married couple, because you guys adopted a child together, you lived together. You know, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, and it's a duck, right? You guys are a married couple, and you didn't check the box married, you checked the box single. So you committed fraud in the amount of $100,000 or something. Well, the fact of the matter is it's part of the Constitution in the state of Colorado that marriage is only between a man and a woman, okay? The voters voted on that, and regardless of what you think of that ballot initiative and constitutional amendment, that's the law in Colorado. So it's a little hypocritical of the government to prosecute these guys, and they were acquitted, ultimately. These are two CU track guys that I've walked on a criminal trial, which was a big misunderstanding. This case is the saddest case I've had in a long time. It was a couple of years ago. This woman would have qualified under President Obama's new DREAM Act. I know I'm running out of time. Well, I think I'm running out of time.
We have 5 minutes left.
Oh,
You
sweet.
could continue running.
She would have qualified under President Obama's DREAM Act because she was brought here as a child by her parents. She attended Fairview High School. She speaks fluent English. She wasn't a citizen. She didn't have a social security number. She had a child here who was born here, who is a United States citizen, who was 8 years old. She was working 2 jobs at a gas station and another kind of menial job like that. So, this Fairview High grad, this young single mother, somebody reported to the police that they thought it was child abuse because her 8-year-old was walking 3 blocks to his elementary school, to his 3rd grade class, which I don't know why that's child abuse to begin with. So the police investigated. They said that's not child abuse. But during the course of their investigation, they found out that she was using a false social security number to work at this gas station and this other place. So they locked her up. They put her in jail for using a false social security number. And we tried this case. She had to send her child, her American citizen child, back to Mexico to live with her parents because otherwise social services would have taken custody of him.